This is the art of Thomas Kinkade, one of the most collected and commercially successful artists of all time. At his peak, Thomas Kinkade's work brought in over $100 million a year every year in revenue, and his lifetime earnings are estimated to be around $4 billion. He had hundreds of galleries across the country, had his artwork on everything from mugs to commemorative plates, and had massive partnerships with everyone from Disney to the Make-A-Wish Foundation to the Daytona 500 in the Olympics. But the art world absolutely despised him, and all of that hatred just made his audience love his work even more. So I want to talk about Kinkade, the branding strategy that made him America's most collected artist, and how you can use it in your own business. So thank you to OmniSend for sponsoring this video. Before we dive in, I want to make something super clear. Thomas Kinkade was a very flawed person, both personally and professionally. He made some very poor choices, let's say, later on in his career, but this video is not about those things. This video is not about celebrating him as a person or like kind of analyzing his complicated legacy, which is very complicated. It's really about analyzing a strategy, a business and marketing strategy specifically, that worked for him, and figuring out how you can use that ethically in your own business. Because here's what Kinkade understood that most creatives miss. Sometimes it is more powerful to define yourself by who you aren't than who you are. And the art world has always been a very exclusive space. Galleries are these empty white voids, and the artwork is often very expensive, it's complicated, it's abstract, and there can often be this underlying message that if you don't get it, you are simply too unsophisticated or uncultured or not intelligent enough to understand it. Thomas Kinkade saw how normal everyday people often felt very alienated by that culture and wanted to try something different. He wanted to make them feel welcome.
Everyone can identify with a fragrant garden, with the beauty of sunset, with the quiet of nature, with a warm and cozy cottage.
His galleries were designed to feel warm and cozy, his work optimistic and approachable. It sets out to comfort the viewer rather than challenge them. And there are lots of problems with the way that Kinkade chose to do this, in my view. Like, the cultural context in which he was operating were, like, the culture wars of the 80s and 90s, the AIDS epidemic. He was very much pandering to, like, rural, middle, evangelical America, and there are some issues in that for sure, but I think that he recognized that a lot of people, a lot of normal people that are not like chronically online like you and me or really into art just want a pretty picture to hang up in their homes, and he chose to give them what they wanted and encountered massive commercial success as a result of doing that. But here's the key part. He didn't just say, buy my art because it's pretty. He said, buy my art because it's made for people like you, not for pretentious critics that think your taste doesn't matter or that you're too stupid to appreciate art. And he made the art world the antagonist in his story. And this is what's called anti-positioning, also known as the enemy effect. And now that you know what this is, you will see it everywhere. It is all over. It's crazy. And it's also one of the most powerful things that you can do to stand out in your business. It's in Apple's iconic 1984 commercial. It's in the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. It is even in the way your local indie bookstore markets themselves. Your local bookstore isn't saying, hey, we sell books. They are positioning themselves in contrast to soulless megacorporations with billionaire founders like Amazon that don't benefit the local economy. This works because people don't just buy products, they buy affirmations of their identity. And when you give someone a clear villain to vote against with their purchase, you are giving them an opportunity to express their values. Before we talk about how to use the enemy effect in your own business, I do briefly want to thank OmniSend for sponsoring this video. OmniSend is an email marketing tool built specifically for e-commerce. That means that they understand that you are not just sending newsletters, you are trying to build relationships that lead to sales. And with OmniSend, you can send automated sequences that do a lot of this heavy lifting for you. So when someone makes a purchase, they will automatically get a follow up from you a few days later asking how they're enjoying it. Or if they added something to their cart but failed to check out, they can get an email asking if they, have any questions, and you can include a discount code even. OmniSend integrates with a ton of major e-commerce platforms out there like Shopify, Etsy, WooCommerce, Big Cartel, and more. If you have been putting off starting an email list because it feels overwhelming, OmniSend makes it simple. And if you are already collecting emails but not following up strategically, this will change everything. If you want to give it a try, use my code Kelsey30 for 30% off your first 3 months, and the link is in the description. So let's talk about how you can use the enemy effect in your own business. First, I want you to think about what your ideal customer is frustrated with in your industry, or what kind of larger force you and your customer are maybe being threatened by that doesn't align with your values. If you are a ceramics artist, for example, and you're selling handmade dinnerware, or even someone offering portrait commissions, maybe your enemy is the flood of mass-produced, low-quality, cookie-cutter home goods that have no soul or story behind them. If you're creating educational content, maybe your enemy is this overwhelming noise of kind of clickbaity or low-value educational content that wastes people's time. The really important thing to make sure of here is that you are punching up and not down. We never want to focus on an individual. Instead, I am always going to suggest that you focus on larger forces or systems that hurt your customer. If you ever focus on an individual, make sure that they are a massive public figure, right? You do not want to focus on another creative that is not going to reflect well on you. The next thing that you need to do is to present yourself as a genuine alternative to the big thing that you're against. Don't just complain to your audience about what's wrong. Prove that you are different and better. Kinkade didn't just shit on those galleries for being pretentious. He proved there was a different way to do things and designed galleries that were cozy, approachable, like a living room, you know what I mean? That were welcoming inside. And that had a massive impact on his brand. He didn't just say, hey, you're doing things wrong and then do things the same way. He set out to be different. He set out to be a shining example of what he thought the world should be. He didn't just critique, he proved he was different. That's kind of what I want you to do. And if you want help figuring out what your brand should actually stand for, I did design a free worksheet. It will be down in the description for you. It's totally free. But as you are kind of identifying your enemy, I really want you to think about what clear thing you want to stand for. What is the alternative that you are offering? How are you going to embody that? Because if your enemy is mass produced goods, you have to talk about what makes you different. Is it the story behind each piece? Is it the quality of materials, the personal connection that customers get with you as the maker? And if your enemy is AI generated images, you need to sell your audience, as terrible as this sounds, on the value of your humanity. The alternative is cheap, it's fast. What makes you different? Are you better? Is the story more compelling? You have to articulate that. You have to just talk about the hours of work, the years of work that you have put in to grow your skill set, the stories that you are telling to your work, what it means to you, how that relates to your background. You have to talk about it. And really, the enemy effect only works if there is substance behind your point. Your audience has to feel like they are not just voting against something they dislike. They have to feel like they are voting for something meaningfully better, like a worldview that they love and adore and want to see in the world, like a story even that they are really passionate about you telling. It has to feel substantive. And again, when this is done right, it's not about attacking an individual. You do not want to be defined by your hatred. The thing that you want to do is you want to stand for something. You want to have a point of view. You want to have a stance in the world on an idea, right? And to do that, to stand for something, you will naturally end up standing against something else. The point is to articulate that, which will strengthen what you are actually all about in your business. And this brings me to a larger point that I wanted to make about building an unforgettable brand as a creative entrepreneur. A massive mistake that I see creatives making online all the time is trying to appeal to everyone. They are so afraid of alienating potential customers that they never really say anything meaningful at all. And there is a massive problem in that. In a world where your audience is scrolling for hours on social media every single day, seeing content from hundreds to thousands of creators, being safe is kind of the same thing as being invisible. If you really want to build a brand that people remember, you have to stand for something. You have to have a point of view, right? You should give people a reason to choose you over the dozens to hundreds of other options they have. Take me and my business, for example. I think that marketing can and should feel good. I think that it can absolutely be compatible with your values. I think that you can run a business with integrity and respect and love for your customer and be profitable. I have met so many creatives that view marketing as this inherently unethical, manipulative practice that you cannot do if you have integrity as a creative. And I could not disagree more with that idea. Every single video that I create tries to go against that, tries to refute that point. And so for me, I position myself in contrast to that idea, and I try to do so in such a way where I never, absolutely never shit talk someone else. I never want to say anything bad about another creative. To me, they are my community. They're not my competition, right? And so I treat every single person that I talk about with professionalism and respect, including and especially my critics. Again, this is about lifting people up, not punching down. And the underlying principle that I really want you to remember here is that memorable brands take a stance. They have an opinion, a worldview. You don't need to try to be everything for everyone. Just serve a specific audience and don't be afraid to say what you're against as well as what you're for. Despite all of his flaws, Thomas Kinkade understood this better than most, and he ended up building one of the most profitable and memorable brands in American art history. And if you want to build an unforgettable brand, one that feels like you and is truly meaningful, I can help. I created that worksheet. It is totally free. It will guide you through this exact process. And while you fill it out, you're gonna wanna watch this video over here, which is all about my thoughts on branding. So I hope to see you there.